In March, we went to the holiest mountains on earth. Stay tuned if you want to hear about our trip to Tirupati. Roll the intro. What's up, temple nerds? It's me, Prema. Welcome back to my channel. Earlier this year, I went on a 2.5-week pilgrimage with my family. It was intense, but it was a blast. If you haven't seen part 1 where we went to Puri, feel free to check it out. So after Puri, we decided to fly to Tirupati. I did consider taking the train, but it would have taken 24 hours, and since our time was really short, it seemed more efficient to just fly there. So then there was a problem. We wanted to see Venkateshwar Swamy, and we heard that to see Venkateshwar, you have to climb the hills of Tirumala in Tirupati. However, we were traveling with our small daughter, and there was some difficulty walking with the older people in our group, so the idea of climbing the hills was very daunting. I ended up speaking with a friend who said that we could get VIP passes, and you could just drive up to the temple with the pass and they'll give you a bump ahead of the line, which sounded cool. Great, wonderful. However, it was election time, so all the VIP passes were taken. My husband called one of his students who had some kind of an official position in Tirupati. He tried, but he couldn't do anything to help us. And naturally, we were in a lot of anxiety. And I thought that maybe my husband and I could go overnight and leave our daughter with my parents, but of course it wasn't fair since we're in Tirupati for like 5 days and everybody would want to go. Something funny, I told my husband that maybe if we get darshan of Venkateshwar, I'll make a vow to shave my hair. You know, everybody shaves their hair when they go to see Venkateshwar. Then my husband says very dramatically, "No, if we get darshan, I'll shave my head." And I was like, man, that's not really a sacrifice on your part. So our flight was from Bhubaneswar to Hyderabad to Tirupati. Now, during our layover in Hyderabad, everyone decided to walk around the airport, and I decided to wait at the gate and hold all our stuff because I'm lazy, but like helpful. Kind of lazy. My husband would occasionally come back. We would chat about our Venkateshwar darshan anxiety, and then he would leave again. Then a lady who was just sitting just a couple rows from me overheard us chatting, and she turned around and she and I chatted a little bit about our lives. She's an Indian living in America. She's a little bit older, you know. And after 15 years of being away from India, she finally came back and she's visiting Tirupati and a few different places. I told her that I'm an Indian American. It's my first time visiting South India. Then she gave me a hot tip. God bless that lady. She gave me a hot tip. And this is something she did too. The Sri Vani Trust has darshan tickets. They only give out like 100 a day, and you can only either get it at the airport or at their office in the Tirumala hills. So as soon as my husband came back, I filled him in on what this nice lady said, and we were like super stoked, ready. We boarded our flight. It was delayed a little bit, but Padmavathi met a little friend, and the flight attendants passed out some little treats, so it wasn't so bad. When we got to the airport, we saw this beautiful statue of Venkateshwar, and I also understood in that moment why there's a rule about not taking pictures with deities, because people be really doing some ridiculous stuff. Tirupati is beautiful. It's the sweetest temple town nested within the Tirumala hills. Our driver picked us up from the airport. He told me later that his name is Subramanyam, but everyone calls him Money. And I was like, okay, Money, we set. So remember this name Money, because he's gonna keep coming back. We stayed at the Fortune Select Grand Ridge. It was a lovely hotel, very clean. They had complimentary breakfast. There's a pool. They provide drinking water. I told them I drink 9 bottles of water a day, and they brought me 9 bottles of water every day. So by the time we got in, settled down, we were all pretty hungry, so we called up Money, and he took us to the ISKCON temple to have prasadam at Govinda's. The temple is gorgeous, and the presiding deities there are Shri Shri Radha Govinda and the Astasakis, so kind of like Mayapur. It's like the Mayapur of the south. They were so beautiful. And we went to Govinda's, and let me tell you, the guys that work at Govinda's, the Prabhus, the male devotee, Anyway, they were super cool. They're very sweet. Here's a fuzzy picture of what we ordered. Everything was delicious. We ate there every single day, every meal. And they even took special requests for like no chili or whatever. I 100%, and I'm not saying this because I'm a devotee, I 100% recommend eating at Govinda's in Tirupati. This one is really good, and the vibes are immaculate. So the next day, my husband, my dad, my uncle, my aunt, they all went to Chennai for a doctor's appointment. And then my mom, my daughter, and I stayed back in Tirupati. It's quite a long drive to Chennai from Tirupati, and we weren't sure how long the appointment was gonna be. And it turned out to be a good decision because they came back really late. So we had a little girls' day with our driver, Mani. Mani took us to the Padmavathi temple, which wasn't too far away from where we were staying. I couldn't take my phone or my shoes, so I didn't have any pictures from there. But when we got to the Padmavathi temple, we went like in the afternoon time, and it was super busy. I got a little overwhelmed because I didn't have my phone and I didn't have my husband, so I'm basically just like leading us blindly in this place I don't really know. There was like one point where I thought to maybe turn back, go sit in the hotel, wait for everybody. And my mom was getting overwhelmed with the crowd too, but I was like, you know what? Let's just one step at a time, right? Let's just take our time, figure it out. So we got in a line. There was not like a lot of heavy pushing like you experience here in Bengal or in Odisha. It's like polite, gentle, sweet pushing. Like somehow it feels different. There was no heavy pushing, just waiting. Then a young man behind me asked about tickets, and I told him that I think this is the line for tickets. And he spoke English, and it was both our first times there, so I felt like a lot more at ease going through this experience with somebody who at least spoke like some kind of native Indian language and English, and just seemed cool, just had good vibes. So shout out to Ravi in Bihar, you're an OG. We paid about 200 rupees for each ticket so that we could go in the fast lane. And then we had to wait in these sections before finally going into the temple. So let me tell you, South Indian temples. Wow, like just wow. Now this was my first temple in South India, and it was so beautiful. It was the carvings are so intricate, and darshan of Padmavathi was like 5 seconds. But we got prasadam khichdi and a prasadam ball that tasted like halwa, and it was really good. We had Govinda's for lunch, then we went back to the hotel, and Padmavathi had never been in a pool before, so I decided to take her to the pool to relax a little. She was a little bit cautious, but she had fun. In the evening, we wanted to go out and shop for clothes, so I asked my mom where she wanted to go, and she was like, I want to shop on the road like Indians do, and I was like, okay, cool. So called up Mani, and Mani took us to an open shopping area, like a regular Indian shopping area. We got out the car. My mom saw how busy it was, got overwhelmed, then we went back in the car. It was very short. And we told Mani to just take us to a clothing store. And he took us to a really nice one. It had like 3 levels of clothes. And we walked around a lot. And finally, we bought a beautiful outfit for Padmavathi to wear for when she sees Venkateshwar Swamy. The day after is where the fun begins. We had to buy our Sri Vani tickets by driving up to the office in Tirumala.
We are entering. Okay, this is our. Okay, we have a new things. Go take a picture. This is called Tirumala. Okay.
Start at Tirumala.
So you're gonna start at Tirumala.
Tirumala. Entrance.
Good morning, it is 6:30, just about, and we just passed through the security checkpoint where they have to search all the cars and all the people. And here, you see, is the mountain behind me, so we will drive up the mountain now. That's where you start.
Start.
Okay.
This is the starting place.
So the starting place is right there. Hold on. This is the starting place to climb this mountain to see Balaji. It's so beautiful.
Round. There's not even straight road.
The drive up was such a pleasant experience. The Tirumala mountains are so beautiful, very clean and organized. It was morning, so the clouds were still like hanging on top of the mountains, making it look like very mystical. Now, while we go up this mountain, let's talk about why Tirupati is significant. The pastime here is that some rishis were performing a yajna, and they were trying to decide on which deity should accept their offerings. Bhrigu Muni decided that he would find out which one was the best. First, he went to Lord Brahma, who was so busy reading the Vedas and chanting the names of Lord Vishnu that he didn't notice Bhrigu Muni there. This upset Bhrigu Muni, who left in a huff to see Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva was so busy with Parvati Devi, he also didn't notice Bhrigu Muni. So this made him even more angry, and he left and went to see Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu was resting on an antashesha, his eyes are closed, and Lakshmi Devi's there massaging his feet. They also didn't see Bhrigu Muni, who at this point was so enraged that he kicked Lord Vishnu on the chest. Lord Vishnu opened his eyes and began to massage Bhrigu Muni's foot because he was worried that his foot was injured from kicking his hard chest. Bhrigu Muni was touched by Lord Vishnu's humble behavior, and he went back to the rishis and told them to dedicate their yajna to Lord Vishnu. Nice. Sweet. Except Lakshmi Devi is furious. She is furious about how easily Lord Vishnu forgave Bhrigu Muni without even considering that Lakshmi Devi resides where? On his chest. So she gets upset and she leaves. She comes down to earth to perform austerities. Lord Vishnu understood his mistake and looked for Lakshmi Devi everywhere but couldn't find her. So then he stayed here in Tirupati to wait for her. Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi Devi reincarnate as Padmavathi and Srinivas, and they eventually get married. So, yay! Okay, we finally make it up the mountain. When we got to the office, we had a decent placement in line. We had to wait a while before we were seen, but thankfully we got tickets for the next day. So we just came back from getting the VIP pass, that is the Sri Vani Trust pass. So to take darshan at Tirupati, you've got a few options. The first one, you can do Sarva Darshanam, which means like everybody can come. It's totally free. You could be in line for like 14 hours up to 2 days, like super long, you never know. The second option would be, there's like a 300 rupees pass, and that one could take about 8 hours. If you're like an NRI and you have a passport, sometimes they let you in a little faster. The third option that we decided to go with was with the Sri Vani Trust. So basically you pay 10,500 rupees and they give you a pass where you get like a faster waiting time. So we decided to go with that. Felt like it was worth the money because, I mean, we spend 10,500 is nothing. It's like a little over $100. Like what? Maybe 125 maybe. I go to Target and I burn through that so fast. So if I can do that at Target, like I can easily give that money to see the Lord, right? So if you decide to do Sri Vani Trust darshan, the VIP darshan, bring 10,500 and it has to be on a card. They don't take cash, they don't do phone pay, and you will need Xerox copies of your ID. So my husband and I showed our Aadhaar cards and my family showed their passports. Otherwise the process is very simple, it's very organized. It's good to go with a guide, who knows, but yeah, you have to pay with a card. I guess that keeps it all kind of above water, kind of clean. So, and it's absolutely devastatingly beautiful here. It's so beautiful. Very organized, very clean, and just, yeah, we're having a great time so far. So we were already on campus. There was still a lot to see and to do, even though we hadn't seen Venkateshwar yet. We went to see Sri Bhu-Varaha Swamy, who you're supposed to see first before you see Venkateshwar Swamy anyways. So it all worked out pretty well. Varahadev is the boar incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and after rescuing the earth, known as Bhu-Devi, from the cosmic ocean and fighting the evil demon Hiranyaksha, he came to this mountain to rest next to the celestial lake known as Pushkarini. When Lord Vishnu came down to earth, after Lakshmi Devi got angry with him, Varahadev gave him permission to stay here when he couldn't find her. So after visiting this temple, we had free lunch. Annadan serves at least 2,000 plates of free food every day. The process is fast, it's clean with lots of volunteers. The food is delicious, but be warned, it's spicy. On the way back down the mountain, we stopped at Papavinasam. This is a naturally occurring waterfall that comes from the Tirumala mountains. They say that the water comes from the feet of Venkateshwar, kind of like how the Ganga comes from the toe of Lord Vishnu, which is why, just like bathing in the Ganga, bathing at Papavinasam waterfall, just as the name indicates, also removes one of all their sins. There's also a beautiful view of the hills here. That evening, I took my husband to the Padmavathi Devi temple, and unlike how it was with my mom, it was not busy at all. So I feel like evening time is the best time to go if you're gonna go see Padmavathi. We took darshan, we chanted, we wandered around the temple, and I didn't notice this before because of how busy it was, but there are other deities in that temple I absolutely adored. Totally fell in love with this deity called Sri Sundararaja Swamy, and he looks just like Venkateshwar. I could take darshan as long as I want, and his altar is air conditioned, so it wasn't like I was like boiling and overheating. There are other altars like Krishna Balaram and Surya Narayan. So I was telling my daughter, I said, Padmavathi, we were just in Jagannath Puri, and I saw the Jagannath Mandir. Right? Baba's name is Jagannath. So we went to Jagannath Mandir. And now we're here in Padmavathi Mandir and your name is Padmavathi. But I don't have a mandir. Where's my mandir? And then she says, don't worry, Mama. When we go back to Mayapur, I'll make a mandir for you. And it'll be called Mama Mandir. I was like, anyway, our appointment with Venkateshwar was at 10 a.m. on March 20th. That day was Ekadasi, so it was pretty much the perfect day to go. I held on to our tickets like my life depended on it because they were so expensive. We drove up the mountain and took the Sri Vani entrance. We had to leave all our stuff in the car, our phone, our shoes, purses, and I asked our driver Mani if our stuff was safe in the car, if he was going to stay with the car the whole time. And he was like so dramatic. He's exactly my type of people, right? So dramatic. Mataji, I will guard your things with my life. And I was like, cool, it's just a phone, but I was just asking, but okay. Anyway, because it was Ekadasi, the temple was much busier than usual. So what would have been a very short wait in line ended up taking about 2 hours, but still much faster than the 36 to 48 hour wait in the regular line. We went into the innermost part of the temple. When you do the Sri Vani ticket, you can go into the innermost part of the temple. It's the altar. It's called the Garbhagriha. And darshan was maybe 10-15 seconds long. We got charnamrita, we got some fruit prasadam, and that was it. We did spend a long time just sort of wandering around the temple though. And once again, the architecture. Magnificent. There was this grand yajna with an altar for the presiding deity, and you could just like imagine ancient yogis and great kings performing fire sacrifices here. We saw a lot of deities, including a Yoga Nrsimha deity that was discovered by Ramanujacharya and brought here. There was a platform that Ramanujacharya used to teach from. We saw where the temple keeps all the deities' things like the flower and their boga. There was a stone and everyone was like writing a wish on a stone with their fingers, and I was with my mom and I had a very long, very specific wish, so it took me a long time to write. And when I looked up, my family was gone. I could not find anyone. I walked around, I didn't see a single soul belonging to my family. Then I saw that the temple closed the gate for the Garbhagriha, for the altar of Venkateshwar. And then there was a flood of people that came in through the Gopuram, right? That's like the archway, the entrance, right? And then they would just stand outside the Garbhagriha and then turn around and exit. That was the whole darshan. It was like maybe a split-second darshan that they got of Venkateshwar Swamy. And that's when I realized that this was the Sarva Darshanam line. This was the general line. These people waited in line. Some climbed the Tirumala hills for 1-2 days, undergoing intense austerity in the scorching heat just for this split-second glance of Venkateshwar Swamy. They didn't get to wander around and marvel at the architecture and daydream about great saints. And I was so touched by their determination. But I was also worried that I couldn't find my family. I ended up seeing the sign directing to where the Laddu Prasadam is. So I figured if I just follow the sign, my family would either be waiting for me there or they would know to find me there. So everyone gets laddu from Venkateshwar Swamy. It's part of like the whole Tirupati experience. So I went to the laddu counters, didn't see them anywhere. I decided to get a laddu while I waited, and because it was Ekadasi, I didn't eat the laddu. Eventually, my family found me and we went back to the car. So while all this was going on, in the back of my mind, I was a little bit worried about my phone because I put it in a cup holder in the car. I don't know why. And it was so hot. And I thought that by the time I got back to the car, my phone would be a little electronic puddle at this point. And I came to terms with it. I accepted it, you know. By the time I got to the car, I was like, this is just how it is. So when I sat down in the car, I saw that Mani had saved my phone by covering it with a washcloth. And I thought, man, he really did guard it with his life. He was really like attentive. That was so nice. We visited the rock garden called Silathoranam. And it was fine. There's like a rare geological formation where a solid rock made of two different types of rocks created an arch. And the arch appeared over time due to erosion, and the rock is approximately 2.5 million years old. So this arch looks like a bridge, and devotees say that Lord Vishnu crossed this arch when he left Vaikunta and came to Tirumala, which is, okay, that's a pretty cool thought. And again, beautiful view of the hills from here. As we were leaving the hills of Tirumala, we saw something really cool. We were driving down the mountain and we saw these wild sambar deer in the forest standing on the side of the road. And they were really close and beautiful and massive, and it felt like auspicious and mystical.
Look at you! Hi!
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
What am I looking at? A deer?
Did you see that?
It's a,
It's a big one.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, look at that. ये क्या बोलते हैं?
Samba.
Samba. Did you see it? Light
Deer
up.
family.
Gonna light it?
It looks like a statue, eh? Yeah. Yeah.
They're brave to go close it.
I'd never seen a sambar deer before. I'd never even know, like, to me, sambar is a food, you know? I never heard it in deer form. I never seen a deer like that. Definitely not in the wild. So that was pretty cool. Now, just because we saw Venkateshwar doesn't mean the trip was over, because our guy Mani didn't give us a break. The next day, there was still a ton of cool stuff to see. He drove us very far. We were winding through open fields and tiny villages, and my daughter, if you remember, gets very car sick. Did she vomit all over me? Yes. Did I have to wear my vomit clothes all day? Also, yes. Just outside of Tirupati, there is this little village called Gudimallam. And what's amazing about this village is it has the oldest Shiva Lingam in the world. And it definitely looks like a lingam. When you go inside, it has that feel of like ancient. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's a stone temple dating back centuries. They say that this lingam is dated to 3 BC. It's pretty old. And this lingam has like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. There's a whole pastime about Parasuram coming here to do tapasya for cutting off the head of his mother, Renuka. And so he prayed at this Shiva Lingam here and was assisted in his prayer by Brahma, who took the form of a yaksha. So all of that is included in this Shiva Lingam. It's like, I always say this, but like India is so far out because you can go to the tiniest, littlest village and there's some wild pastime that happened there. I can't believe that this is the oldest Shiva Lingam in the whole world. It's far out. Of course, I'm not taking any videos of inside the temple because I want to be respectful of the management and the deities and whatever, but it's something to see. The village is called Gudimallam. The deity is named Parasurameshwar. We then went to the Srikalhasti temple, known as the Kailash of the South. This temple is located on the side of a mountain. Absolutely breathtaking. It's like, and then like higher up in the mountains, there's this massive statue of Shiva and Parvati overlooking the temple. And I mean, it was like majestic. I don't know how to describe it. But like, you know, here in South India, I could understand awe and reverence. I could feel it. You know, this temple was built by the Chola Emperor in 5 CE. It's like super old. The Shiva Lingam here is made of solidified camphor, and the whole massive temple is made of black stone, as were, I think, pretty much all the temples in South India. This temple has tons and tons of pastimes. The wind god performed austerities here. Parvati Devi performed austerities here. Lots of rishis and saints were here. This place is called Srikalhasti because Sri, a spider, Kal, a snake, and Hasti, an elephant, were ardent devotees of Lord Shiva, and they gave everything, including their own lives, just to serve him. We ended the day by going to Kapila Tirtham, and this was supposed to be a waterfall, but when we got there was no waterfall. I think maybe in March it dries up. I'm not sure. There is a self-manifested Shiva Lingam here as a result of the austerities performed by Kapila Muni. The next day we took it pretty easy, didn't really go anywhere during the day. We took Padmavathi to the park next door, but it was like real rough looking. It was not a nice park. And yeah, so we ended up coming back. We decided to visit the Padmavathi temple once more. Then we went back to the hotel to pack, get ready, and rest for the next leg of our tour. So late that night, I was packing up and I look over at the window, and the view of the mountains from our room these last 5 days were spectacular, beautiful. But that night, I happened to look over, and you can't see anything except the entrance to the walking path for the Venkateshwar Swamy temple. And that entrance is like all lit up, you can see here. And it felt like Venkateshwar was watching over the devotees of Tirupati. And I thought of all the wonderful devout pilgrims who, even here in the middle of the night, at this hour, are walking up this long path just to get that little split-second glimpse of Venkateshwar Swamy. And the massive entrance light is on even at this hour just to welcome these pilgrims to see the Lord. And I was touched by Tirupati. I spent 5 days here in Tirupati and I was touched. I found the people here to be very kind and very loving. All the temples I saw were just amazing. And I definitely want to come back here. So thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out the links below to show me some love. Add me on Instagram because I post stuff on there that doesn't make it here to YouTube. Be good to each other and be good to yourselves. And thank you for being damn good. Bye.